The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. Many of the Jews who had come to Mary and seen what Jesus had done began to believe in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees convened the Sanhedrin and said, "What are we going to do? This man is performing many signs. If we leave him alone, all will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our land and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing, nor do you consider that it is better for you that one man should die instead of the people, so that the whole nation may not perish." He did not say this on his own, but since he was high priest for that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not only for the nation, but also to gather into one the dispersed children of God. So from that day on, they planned to kill him. So Jesus no longer walked about in public among the Jews, but he left for the region near the desert, to a town called Ephraim, and there he remained with his disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before Passover to purify themselves. They looked for Jesus and said to one another, as they were in the temple area, "What do you think, that he will not come to the feast?" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, do you know, on the page opposite this gospel passage, I just have two words: Holy Week. Right? This is it. And this is, of course, the preface to Holy Week, to those fateful events, Jesus' death and resurrection. Yes, we. What do we take away? What do we take away from the passage? There's a whole lot going on. I mean, this first part, I think, we've tried to give some kind of context. Many of the Jews come to Mary, seen what Jesus had done, began to believe in him. Well, this is immediately following on from Jesus's raising Lazarus from the dead, and it might make sense to mention that. I think because it precipitates in a very direct way the events that we're about to witness. And why would that be the case? Well, I mean, we see the chief priests and the Pharisees, right? This question that they begin with, "What are we going to do?" is the question for them. What are we going to do? Here we have this prophet from Galilee, right? This, if they were to say, self-styled Messiah, right? This guy who's launching a rebel movement. It's clear that he's doing that. It's clear that he's launching a rebel movement. It's clear that he's doing something that has to do with Israel. He's going around with 12 guys, right? This is, he's cleansed the temple. He's doing things that are highly provocative and significant and meaningful. And now we hear, right, not too far outside of Jerusalem, he's raised someone from the dead. He's raised someone from the dead. This is out of control. This is out of control, right? And of course, the chief priests and the Pharisees, they're surveying the whole scene, right? So they know what the uncomfortable alliances with the enemy forces are. They know where the Roman army is situated, right? They know how easy it is for even the governor of the region to call the Roman army to their aid and wipe everyone out. I mean, and it's not, it's not a piece of paranoia in the end, right? Because 70 AD, this is exactly what happened. The siege of Jerusalem. I mean, it's complete destruction. And I've mentioned before some details of that. We hear stories, at least, of people eating their babies. Like, you can't imagine the kind of desperation that the people were faced with at that time, who were held siege by the Roman forces. So the chief priests and the Pharisees have some of that in mind. And they see this guy, right? They've encountered Jesus before. They've had ongoing conflict with him, but this kind of head to head it's only getting more and more intense. And for them, especially, that feels very out of control, right? Well, they kind of guardians of a very, very fragile peace, right? This political arrangement that's very well sketched out. And he is, if he's going to be doing this kind of thing, he's disturbing it. And more than that, the idea that he's raising people from the dead, I mean, it would get your attention, any day of the week. But the fact that he's doing that is just like, clearly it goes beyond them. Clearly it goes beyond their power. Now they're thinking on their own plane, right? They're thinking in their own dimension. And they're thinking of how this guy is going to upset everything that they've worked so hard to preserve, like this very fragile piece. And of course, what goes into that, it's not simply just their sense of what they have to do to preserve their own nation, but what they'd like to do to preserve their own power. Because, they sit in a certain position as it relates to the order of the day. And if he's to upset that order, then of course, or even their roles are thrown into confusion. They don't know where they're going to end up at the end of it. But you can see there's a lot, right? There's enough there for anxiety, for real tension, stress, and the rest. But of course, they see it a bit wrong, right? Of course, they see it a bit wrong. Because what the power that's at work in Jesus is not simply, a new political power. It's not simply a new, say, show of force. Right? It's not simply that he has strength in the same, the same realm or from the same sources that they derive their strength and power from. Right? It's not like Jesus is not in this sense like, you look at all the powerful people in the land, right? You look at Pontius Pilate, you look at Herod, you look at the chief priests, you look at Caiaphas, the rest. You can line them all up and say, well, Jesus is like above those guys, right? So power, Jesus. But it's not like that. It's not like a rank ordering of people who have power. Why? Because he's operating from a different source of strength. Right? His whole life is animated by the power of self-giving love. And so he cuts across them all, right? The power, they are faced in every conceivable context. They're confronted in every conceivable way by the power of self-giving love. And I will say this, it absolutely is the creative power. Because it's God's own life of love. It's the creative power. But it's also the most destructive power in the world. Because it's meant to tear down systems of injustice. Right? It's meant to, take off the chains of bondage and slavery that the one man has put on another. So it's right across, right, every facet of their own lives of power and being in control are confronted by Jesus. So now, does that feel any less out of control? No, it feels totally out of control. And their only way through, because they're committed to, their own selves, their own vision, their own dreams and desires for themselves and their land, the people and the rest, is to kill him. That's their only way through. So they believe. Of course it's not. Because their way through is to trust him and to follow him. No matter what they believe it'll cost them. Okay? You can make all the connections for yourselves, I'm sure. You're making them already. Where are we? Where are we in this? Do we so totally trust Jesus that's our only concern, is to trust and follow him. It's our only concern. Or are we concerned about something else, whatever that something else may be? Do we have something to lose when we are ourselves, in every aspect of our heart and life, confronted with the power of self-giving love? Or is our whole life already in conformity with God's own life of love? Are we simply an expression of God's self-gift? Or do we have something that's still left to do? Well, we're heading into Holy Week no matter what, right? We're heading into Holy Week no matter what. And we're going to see Jesus walk that path of self-gift. We're going to see it with our own eyes. And he will be held up to us as a mirror. And we'll be able to have those reflections for ourselves. We have to allow him to challenge us. We have to allow him to confront us. We have to allow him to conquer the hardness of our heart, that we might trust and follow him in all things and be the expression of God's self-giving love that he intends us to be.